And now we've come to the topic of how we price our artwork. And this is always a tricky one, and it's one where I go through a process every couple of years and look at how I price my own work. But I'll come back to that a little bit later. First off, you've got to think about the cost of your raw materials. So what's it going to cost you for your materials? Now, so you've got to cover the cost of your materials, but I'm not saying for a moment that you need to cover the cost of your hourly rate of the time that you put into your painting, because if you're starting off as a student, you've really got to think of that as being your education. So I don't think you should get too concerned about that. I know some students in the past that I've had have said, oh, well, I should be on a $10 rate or a $20 rate or whatever, but it's your education, so you're training yourself, so really you can't charge all that much if you're in training. So, but you need to cover the cost of your materials. Beyond that, it's a matter of looking at your competitors and competitors' products. So if there's someone already producing some artwork, and it may not be the same sort of artwork as yours, if it is the same sort, then you can work out roughly how you might be able to match their sort of price or go a little bit under their price. But and on that, I think it's worthwhile negotiating with people who are around your area and working in the same sort of producing the same sort of handicrafts or artwork, and negotiate with them and come out with a price that's fair and reasonable for both of you or all of you, and also for your customer. But there may not be someone producing the same sort of work as you, so you've got to look at what are tourists currently buying that might be similar. So if your work is on paper, or if it's unframed, if it's only small, well then you might find that a t-shirt or something else might be similar priced. I'm not saying for a moment that you price yours like you might price a screen printed t-shirt, because screen printed t-shirt is not a unique item. But when tourists are looking around your shops, they're going to go, oh well, here are all the items I could buy, this is so many dollars, this is so many dollars, and so on. You've got to find a price that makes your product look attractive. But by the same token, you don't want to sell yourself too short either. So you've got to come up with a price that works for you. So it's what you're happy with. So a price that you're happy to let that item go. Because if someone doesn't buy that painting, let's say it might be $30 for example, and on that particular day that you're trying to sell it, no one's interested, instead of just automatically reducing the price, you might be better to wait until someone else comes along and says, oh, that's just fantastic, I'm willing to easily pay $30. Once you get your price, I wouldn't suggest that you bargain too much, and I know in Vanuatu bargaining is not a big issue, but in some other places it might be. And many tourists do try and bargain, not because they're being rude, it might be just the culture that they come from, or they think that they're expected to bargain. In Australia, increasingly, even though there's fixed prices everywhere, a lot of people still go to a place and still try and negotiate a better price, or they say, if I buy this item and that one, will you give me a better price? And that's fair enough too. In the end, I think it's better off to sell your work slightly cheaper than what you probably would normally, or you're really, really happy with. So then you can take that money and invest it into more art materials and keep on practicing and getting better all the time too. But there's a few other variables with that. For example, in Tasmania, I sell my work a lot cheaper than if I sell it on the mainland or overseas. So, for example, and it depends where I sell it from. So it depends on the venue, and also it depends on the tourists or the consumers. So some consumer groups are willing to spend a lot more. So, for example, when I had an exhibition in New York in the consulate there, the kind of people that were turning up to that event generally had a lot of money, and they could afford to pay 5 times more than what they would pay a similar painting that I would sell in Tasmania. So it depends where I go and what the venue's like and who the clients are, and my price point might change. And I can justify that in all sorts of ways, that if I have an exhibition somewhere, the costs of going there and setting up and having an exhibition changes all that. If I was just painting some scenes around through here and I was going to sell them in a local gallery, then my price is probably a lot less. So you've got to look at also who is in a similar position to you, who's got a similar reputation or quality of work, and try and match them or be as close to them as possible. But you might also find that your work is quite unique and stands out from everybody else's, and you can ask whatever you like. And it depends on your circumstances as how much money do you need, you know, what do you really need? So if you're desperate to earn some money, well then you might decide that you're going to sell your work a lot cheaper and keep on sending it out until you've got a reputation. And what I mean by reputation is the more awards you might win, and there's probably no competition where you are anyway, and so it's really about how people perceive your work or how valuable it is. So if you come up with a unique style or your product's really quite different from everybody else's, then you can almost ask any price that you like. It's a tricky one. There's no simple sort of answer. It comes down to your own circumstances. How much money do you need? How do you look at it? You might find that you're quite comfortable financially, so therefore you don't need to sell your work really, really cheaply. Or you might be like me that I've sold thousands of works, and now I'm just hanging on to a few paintings that I really want to keep rather than sell them because I'm not desperate for money. So it depends on your situation, but when I was raising a family, I was quite happy to discount some of my work too. So you've got to decide on that. And if you've got work that's been hanging around your home for quite some time and hasn't sold, it's probably better off to have some special event and discount some of your work just so then it goes moving, because the longer that you have it, it might deteriorate anyway. So really, but you've got to cover your cost of materials. But as I say, as you're starting out, be prepared to not earn as much money than later on if you keep on going for a number of years and you're a lot faster, a lot more skillful, and your work really stands out from everybody else's, that you obviously as time goes on you put your prices up. But initially I would suggest that it's better off to sell your work, get it out, get some money coming back in, and then you can invest that into better cameras, better equipment, better materials, and just use that money and consider that money as your education. I have a few random kind of things to say to encourage you. And the first thing I want to say is I would suggest that you take an interest in art and painting in particular. Even if it's not for you to earn some money, you might decide that it is a good way for you to communicate with other people and yourself, and discover that you might have some hidden talents. And therefore, it doesn't matter really how old you are. It doesn't matter whether you're a 12-year-old girl or an 80-year-old man. Just have a go. And in the end, it doesn't matter. It's not a competition. It doesn't matter what other people think. And you're on a journey, and so you might really discover, if you keep going, that you're really quite good at it. And even if you're not good at it, it doesn't matter. Art's not about whether you're good or bad or whatever. It's about communicating and discovering things. So I would encourage you to pick up a pencil and paper and brushes and just give it a go. Don't try and copy other artists. Initially that's good to try and start getting things happening, but ultimately it's about making your own mark and representing yourself in your own unique particular way. It's not a competition. You won't get lots of people running to you and saying, oh, how wonderful you are, because often that doesn't happen. Sometimes when you produce work, there's no reaction or a negative reaction. So you've got to be a little bit hard in some ways too, and accept that not everyone's going to love your work or relate to it in any way. Some people can be quite jealous and bag your work and bag you either to your face or behind your back. It doesn't matter. You just keep on going and doing what you want to do because you're enjoying it. But it's not always enjoyable. Sometimes it's difficult pleasure, and it can be quite a lonely thing to do. I would suggest that you have a nice balance though when you're producing this work. Also get out, exercise, tend to your gardens, do other things, socialise with people, get healthy. There's other things in life other than painting and drawing. But painting and drawing is a good way to tell the story of your family and your history and your ups and downs in life. That's a really important thing too. And even though this video is all about earning some money and I'm just giving you some very shortcuts, there's no doubt about that, it's very short, there's other reasons for producing art as well. have faith in yourself. Look for the long term. Don't expect everyone's going to love your work. Don't expect everyone's going to want to buy it because everyone's different. And someone might really like it, but they're not going to buy it because they don't have space on their walls or they don't have the money. There's lots of reasons why people don't buy a particular painting. I would suggest that you find some friends who have similar interests and support one another. That's really important. In my country, a lot of artists work independently, and more than not, they're not that supportive. I would suggest that you share your resources and share your knowledge and share whatever you can. And I know that's part of your culture anyway, to share things. But keep doing that, because you can only benefit by supporting one another. When a tourist turns up and has a look at your work, it doesn't matter how cheap your work is, they may just not like it and they like someone else's work next to you. That's fine. But next time there's different tourists and they might like your work rather than your friends or family members. So be supportive, share your wealth and share your ideas and share your skills, and that way you're going to learn a lot more quickly. As I say many times, it's not a competition, and I think there's a lot of rewards that you can get, social rewards, and you can develop some really good relationships through art. If you can afford to, go on, have a look at YouTube, go on the internet, have a look at everyone else's work. But everyone's work around the world is going to be so totally different from yours, because you live in a unique environment. Yours is quite different. But by looking at what other people do, it'll give you some ideas. And that's what I've tried to do in this video, is just give you a few ideas. I haven't shown you step by step how to do a painting. I've just thrown some ideas randomly at you. And I've done this in between doing my own work, and I also run a little business. And I've done this video in between all the other things I've got to do in life. And that's how it is. You may not get a big stretch where you can just sit down and just do all your paintings at your leisure when you're ready. Life has many things involved in it, and painting is just one of many things. So you may not get the ideal situation of where you work or how you might sell your work and so on. But people will be supportive. People will respect you, that you're willing to have a go, and you will discover some things within yourself. Even if you never become a professional artist, you'll discover that you have all sorts of abilities. And by starting off doing some paintings and drawings might lead you on to some other creations, and you might just discover that you have a wealth of talent within yourself. And by you opening yourself up to criticism and your vulnerability, other people are going to open up to you as well. So it's a beautiful pathway to discover lots of things about yourself and other people. And I congratulate you if you decide that you wish to take up some drawing and painting and wish to try and earn some money and sell things to tourists. Now, it's not all about money, and it's not about greed. When tourists come to your place, they are interested in your culture and your beautiful landscape, and they want a memento. And so by you producing something of yourself and giving it to them is a very wonderful thing, and they will cherish that work. They will love that work. And so that's a really wonderful thing too, to be able to produce something and give happiness to another person. Yes, you need money. We all need money to survive. But you're giving them a bit of yourself. And so I congratulate you. I wish you well. I don't know where these videos are going to go in any particular way. I'm not sure if it's going to be successful. In some ways, I highly doubt it because of my production values that I've done. I've largely made these up as I've just sat here and just got along with this particular journey. I'm not sure if I'm going to produce any more and whether they're going to be valued. But I wish you well, and I sincerely hope that you're able to create and that you're able to sell and able to support your family in a very creative way.